Hi, my name is Mary. Today FM plays the best music in Lambasa. Today FM rocks.
My name is Thomas. I'm here in Nakasi and I like to listen to Today FM because it rocks.
My name is Milenia. Today FM rocks here in Singatoka.
My name is Enrique and Today FM rocks here in Tavua.
My name is Mary Jane. I love listening to Today FM here in Ba. Today FM rocks.
My name is Ilay Tiambal and I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks here in Usur.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
In the news tonight, Fiji to work with Australia to tackle growing economic challenges. Influenza ruled out as cause of death of US nationals. And the consumer watchdog raises concern on a milk product.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
In a collaboration to tackle the growing economic challenge, the Fiji and Australia governments have decided to work closely than ever before. Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Marise Payne, has today revealed that the Australian government have started work on a joint trade and economic scoping study with Fiji. She revealed this at the Fijian Media Association organised press club lunch today, which was attended by Kelly Vavala, and she files this report.
The turbulent economic situation of the world has not spared any country. Fiji and Australia have experienced sustained economic growth in recent years, and a new economic study between both countries will help improve it.
That work began literally last week. It's going to be finalised by the end of July. And I very much look forward to the findings of the independent team that will shortly be in Fiji to engage with government and the business community. Two-way trade in goods and services totalled more than $2 billion in the year to July 2018. But I think it is important to remind ourselves that we can't be complacent.
Attended by members of the Fijian Media Association, university journalism students and the diplomatic corps, Minister Payne also revealing the Australian government is also considering projects in Fiji through its soon-to-be-established infrastructure financing facility.
Particularly including in the energy, transport, water and telecommunications sectors, with climate resilience inbuilt. Infrastructure that is well planned, well built and well maintained can boost sustainable growth, can enhance economic integration and, put simply, make people's lives easier.
The minister adds that another element of the Pacific Step-Up builds on the two countries' history on defence, police and security cooperation. Kelly Vathala, FBC News.
We're now joining Kelly Vavala live from Suva. Kelly, this is Payne's first state visit as Australia's Foreign Affairs Minister following her Prime Minister Scott Morrison's visit in January. What more can you tell us about her visit and how does this capitalise on the Vuvale partnership between Australia and Fiji?
Minister Payne has certainly been busy since her arrival into the country, meeting with government officials and today journalists from various news agencies. Some of the things she talked about is Australia's delivery on some of its commitments that their Prime Minister Scott Morrison had announced. And these commitments include security, economic development and links between the Australian and Fijian people. The Vuvale partnership, she says, has enhanced Fiji and Australia's bilateral cooperation, strengthening our bonds and embracing new opportunities. Under this agreement, both countries will identify new opportunities in trade and investment. Australia is also working to support the sustainable economic development in the Pacific that is the engine for growth in jobs, wealth and quality of life. Jackie.
Thanks so much for that update, Kelly. The Health Ministry says influenza has been ruled out as the cause of death for the two American nationals that died in Nadi last week. The ministry says at this stage they do not believe there is any risk to the public and it would be premature to speculate further on the cause of death until investigations are complete. Kelly Vavala reports.
Responding to media queries, the Health Ministry says investigation into the cause of death of David and Michelle Paul are ongoing.
I'm monitoring the situation. We have a team on the ground in the West that are working around the clock and also behind the scenes to make sure that that we are not leaving any stones unturned. We are following all the processes that we normally follow. We're working very collaborating with all stakeholders, including being in contact with authorities from the US.
Dr. Wanganembete confirms they're now monitoring a number of staff and health workers who came into close contact with the deceased couple.
Individual institutions will obviously following that advice, we'll make the appropriate decisions, and that's between our health protection units and those stakeholders. But again, these are precautionary measures.
The ministry is working with the U.S. Embassy in Fiji, the Police Force's Forensic Department, the World Health Organization and the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to determine the cause of the couple's death. Kelly Badala, FBC News.
The Biosecurity Authority has clarified that a major supermarket met all the requirements while importing Milky-O brand milk products in the country. This comes after the Consumer Council raised concerns against the product, claiming that Milky-O does not meet the Food and Safety Act and should not be on the shelves for consumers to purchase. Kritika Kumar reports.
The consumer watchdog claims that the product has breached the Food and Safety Act 2003 and should be removed from the supermarket shelf.
This product is breaching one, the mandatory labeling, that should be all the details of the manufacturer should be there. So what is missing here is the name, the address and the contact details of the manufacturer, importer, packer and distributor of the product.
Shandil says vital details are missing from the product, which is a major concern.
What it's only telling the consumers is that it is packed in New Zealand. But where is the source from? So that is our major concern. Also, it does not state the special conditions that the consumers need to know about the use and storage of the product.
While responding to the questions sent by the FBC News, BEF says their internal inquest shows the milk consignment met its import requirements for dairy products of New Zealand origin. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
We are 48 hours away from the announcement of the national budget for 2019-2020. Arguably one of the most important aspects of government's work, we look back at the budget from the last year and review the top 5 allocations. Maggie Boyle reports.
It's that time of the year again when counting the dollars and cents comes to the forefront. In the previous budget, revenue streams were estimated at more than $4.2 billion, with expenditure at $4.6 billion, a deficit of over $700,000. The education sector scaled new heights, hitting the billion-dollar mark, and is expected to remain the biggest spend, with tuition-free grants, free textbook scheme and bus fare assistance continuing. Also of note, the grant for the tertiary institutions, which stood at $123.8 million to accommodate the National Topper Scheme and Tertiary Education Loan Scheme, among others.
And the next biggest spend is the allocation for the Fiji Roads Authority of more than $563 million. It's a piece of the budget pie that's expected to remain in the top 3.
Access to clean drinking water for every Fijian accounts for the Water Authority of Fiji being given over $349 million. For the Ministry of Health, more than $334 million was set aside to increase health personnel, as well as ensure major upgrades and renovation work to hospitals and numerous health facilities. Other notable spends that round up the top 5 include the security agencies, with the Fiji Police Force getting $193.5 million, and the Republic of Fiji Military Forces allocated $103.3 million. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Still to come, FWCC continues to receive reports on alleged sexual attacks, and traffic contributes greatly to air pollution. Details after the break.
Nambula FM, nambandua na sere.
Hoya uvasit sai se lambasa, ya ndo talita ina warong nambula FM nambandua na sere.
Buya do tumeli ako na tao no hinga toka. Talita kina na warong nambula FM nambandua na sere.
Wana tunga nambula FM nambandua na sere nambua.
Na vengo fanya na tao.
The Fiji Women's Crisis Centre continues to receive reports about alleged sexual attacks at work, public places and in schools. FWCC's coordinator Shamima Ali says people from poor financial backgrounds are often targets of this predatory behaviour. The vulnerable groups include persons with disabilities, members of the LGBTQI community and children. Koroi Tandulalo reports.
Ali says they have received 17 cases of predatory sexual attacks over the past 12 years. She adds they are beginning to record complaints from school students as well.
We're getting few from the secondary school section also that we are getting, and of course we're getting some sexual harassment from the universities also, from the tertiary institutions. But when we talk about schools, most of them are in primary school because these are younger children once again and more vulnerable.
Fiji Teachers Union General Secretary says they do not tolerate such behavioral practices in schools. He adds while they haven't received any formal complaints, teachers who are found guilty of such practices do not deserve to be in the teaching profession.
And over this long period, we have had some isolated incidents of this nature. If a teacher is found guilty of such an offence, the teacher should never ever be allowed to re-enter the classroom. That is our position on this.
Singh says they have a policy in place that addresses such issues if they arise. Kurai Tandulala, FBC News.
Traffic has contributed greatly to air pollution in the country compared to industrial pollution. After monitoring the air concentration in the Suva area, the University of the South Pacific School of Science says it's slightly below the pH 2.5 level. Sainani Boiler reports.
USP Science lecturer Dr. Francis Money says increasing combustion sources is one of the major contributors to air pollution in the Suva area.
And the PM 2.5 is a little shocking in terms. It's slightly higher, which means that most of our PM 2.5, it comes from combustion sources of burning fuels and things like that. So yeah, so it does point to like traffic mostly.
While participating in the World Environment celebrations today, Dr. Mani said the Environment Ministry should look into this.
Really, I think we need to have some stringent policies in place, to stop all this, to actually curb the air pollution.
While officiating at the World Environment Day, Environment Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says protecting our environment is crucial.
Air pollution also harms our natural environment through directly decreasing the oxygen supply from oceans, making it harder for plants to grow and contribute to climate change. They can change and deplete nutrients through soil and waterways, endanger vital freshwater resources.
Meanwhile, the Land Transport Authority marked Environment Day celebration by doing smoke emission checks on over 100 vehicles in Suva. Sainiani Mboila, FBC News.
Parental responsibility should not be upon the teachers. Minister for Education Rosie Akbar made the statement as she elaborates on the workload that teachers sometimes have to face while dealing with students. Akbar says too often parents complain about teachers not doing their job. She has reminded parents to ensure their children are in school, and parental engagement is vital for students to do well. The Education Minister says parents are sometimes busy with their own lives and they tend to shift the responsibility to teachers.
More than often we hear complaints from parents about teachers not doing their job. But I think we need to work together. Parental responsibilities can never be shifted to teachers, if I can put that on record again.
The Water Authority of Fiji's legal representative today informed the arbitration court that they have released the names of permanent and temporary employees to the National Union of Workers. The arbitration court had earlier ordered WAF to provide the list of workers whose contracts expired on the 30th of April to the union. Earlier in April, more than 2,000 WAF workers protested following the end of their employment contracts, claiming that they were illegally terminated. National Workers Union General Secretary Felix Anthony, who acknowledging receipt of the list, told the court that the union also required the job evaluation report. The WAF's council, in response, said the job evaluation report will be tabled before the board next Thursday, which is when they will decide whether or not to release the report. The council added that the report contains confidential data and a decision needs to be made on the release of relevant information only. Both parties have agreed to meet next Wednesday. The case has been adjourned to 9th July. Later in sports, Jamie will have all the very latest on our Fiji Sevens boys, but first, Rachel with business.
Thanks, Jackie. Good evening, and coming up after the break, EFL declares a dividend of 6 cents per share. And in Going Fiji, major roadwork expected in the coming days. Stay with us.
For the best classic hits, I only listen to Gold FM here in Singapore. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
My name is Seni Rawa. I love listening to Gold FM here in Nosuri. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
My name is Dino. I'm from Outrigger, Coral Coast, Singapore.
I love listening to Gold FM. Only the classic hits.
My name is Salote. I love listening to Gold FM here in Surrey. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Bula, my name is Marida. Gold FM plays the best classics here in Aochiga.
Leading business tonight, Energy Fiji Limited has declared a dividend of 6 cents per share for the financial period ending December 31st, 2018. The dividend will be paid to shareholders through their nominated modes by the Central Share Registry Limited. EFL Chief Executive Hasmukh Patel says this is the first dividend declared by the company after the corporatization process, which was initiated last April. This means all EFL customers who have successfully applied for the free offer non-voting shares by the government will be entitled to this dividend payment. The Fijian economy is on track to register its 10th consecutive year of expansion, however, at a slower pace of 2.7%. In its latest economic review, the Reserve Bank says the latest sectoral outcomes are mixed so far this year. Visitor arrivals increased by 5.8% due to more arrivals from New Zealand, Japan, the US, Australia and Asia. Liquidity averaged around $360 million in April. As of May 29th, liquidity was $329.7 million, and the RBF says that is sufficient to support economic activity. And we now join Sanifa from HFC Bank with the latest from the money world.
The US dollar struggled to rise from its 7-week low today. This was after the US Federal Reserve officials hinted the possibility of an interest rate cut in the face of rising risks to trade and global economic growth. Rate cuts by some central banks in recent weeks could potentially be the signal for the start of a global monetary easing cycle to stave off a sharper economic downturn. Australia's central bank yesterday slashed benchmark cash rates to a record low of 1.25% and signaled willingness to go further if the worsening outlook persists. Last month, New Zealand's central bank cut its benchmark interest rate for the first time in 2.5 years as it moved to support a cooling economy and counter global uncertainties. In South Korea, the central bank last week kept policy settings unchanged but adopted a more accommodative tone, while India is expected to cut rates at its policy meeting tomorrow. That's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Thanks, Anifa. On to today's exchange rates as it was set this morning. Now, with President Donald Trump in Britain and the EU facing Brexit, the world foreign exchange markets are in a bit of a confusion. So as you can see, the Fiji dollar fell against the Chinese yuan and the US greenback, but gained against the currencies of our major trading partners, that's Australia and New Zealand. And the dollar slipped against the kina, the euro and the yen. Looking at the commodities prices, the price of oil rose slightly, remaining around $53 a barrel. Gold was up at $1,326 per ounce, and silver closed at $14.81 per ounce. And in growing Fiji tonight, major road work on Ratudovi Road in Nasinu has started and will complete in 2 weeks. Fiji Roads Authority General Manager Central Arum Ghoz says majority of the work will be carried out between 7:30 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. to reduce traffic congestion. The work begins from the Langere intersection up to the Remba Circle intersection. Ghoz also clarifies work during the day begins at 9 a.m. and stops at 4 p.m. During the carriageway repairs, FRA will be closing the affected sections of the Ratudovi Road to single lane. Other roads planned for similar repairs this month include Princess Road near Tamavua Village and Queens Road near Subavo. And that's a wrap on the business desk for tonight. Jamie's up next with sports.
Thank you, Rachel, and good evening in sports tonight. Fiji Sevens players given cash reward, and Fiji residents win second test. This and more coming up.
Hi, I'm Jyotishma. I'm from Singatoka. I love listening to Mirchi FM. Mirchi FM is hot.
Mirchi FM is #1.
I'm Charlene Robert. Mirchi FM rocks in Lambasa.
I'm Soname Nasori Jackson. Mirchi FM is hot.
My name is Raymond Dutt. I'm in Baba Singh Alliance. Mirchi FM is hot in Lambasa.
I'm Pritika from Jackson Nasori. I love listening to Mirchi FM here in Nasori. Mirchi FM is hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
The Fiji Sevens team has been rewarded with cash for winning the World 7 Series title. In a small welcome celebration at Nawaka Village today, Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama presented each player and coach Gareth Baber $5,000 each, while the remainder of the coaching and support staff each received $2,500. In addition to this, the team will share equally $100,000 from the Fiji Rugby Union. Felipe Naikaso has more.
These Fiji Sevens players were personally thanked by the Prime Minister for their unbelievable efforts of winning 5 tournament titles, a back-to-back sevens leg, and crowned the World 7 Series champions to top it all off.
You bounced back from the disappointment of last year's series and made your triumphant return as the king of sevens rugby.
Families and fans came out in numbers at Nawaka Village to get a glimpse of the Sevens team, take pictures and celebrate the series win.
People giving up time, working hard, doing things out of the ordinary to make sure that we can do the best we can when we're overseas is extremely humbling.
During the semi-finals against USA, all I told the boys was defense, because defense wins games.
The unwavering support also from family played a key role in the success of the Sevens team.
As I said, it's been a challenge. The Fijian fans are very passionate, but they can also be quite fickle, and that's been quite hard sometimes to read some of the things that people have written, and that's been difficult sometimes.
And for the fans, it was definitely a memorable occasion.
What the boys did way back during the whole series, plus what they did in London and Paris, it was superb.
I'm very happy because of the boys. They brought the trophy home to Fiji.
The Sevens players were also reminded that they have one of the toughest jobs, as they have to satisfy the most passionate rugby fans on the planet. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
Some new players will be tested in upcoming international sevens tournaments. Fiji Sevens coach Gareth Baber says there'll be a lot happening behind the scenes from now until they have to defend their series title again. Aquila Dama reports.
A proud coach with the spoils, Gareth Baber says the preparations for their World Series title defense will start soon.
The Pacific Games coming up, which obviously we will prep for, and then there's we will be travelling to Oktoberfest in September as well up in Germany, which is another tournament, and I'm looking from that to grow more players, potentially take players overseas with us and see exactly how they behave and how they are in pressure situations, and ultimately, you know, our training will go in running alongside that through for the next sort of 3 months. To build these players where they need to be to go in and make an assault on obviously HSBC series first and foremost, but obviously the Olympics after that.
Team captain Paulan Ranisinukula says now it will be tough for the current players to make the Olympic squad.
It will be a tough challenge and tough for the boys for the next season due to Olympic. Some other big names are knocking on the door to come in and represent Fiji for the Olympic. So. Yeah, it'll be a tough competition for the boys.
But for now, the team needs a well-deserved break.
They've made over 2.5 years, not just the last sort of 8 months. It's important that they get that time back with the family and they rest and recover. Mentally, obviously, you know, we're all drained. We've just been on a flight for 30-odd hours, and you know, to get back, have some time off.
Some of these players will be part of the Pacific Games in Samoa next month. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
Fiji Sevens halfback Jerry Tuwai has brushed aside comments that he's the most successful player of all time. Despite winning an Olympic gold medal, being the first player to win 5 Hong Kong Cup titles in a row, winning 3 World Series titles, and also being part of the first team to claim back-to-back titles in a series leg, the humble 30-year-old had this to say.
To tell you the truth, I will never be able to match Sereb. Sereb is the king of 7. Until I die, I will still not match Sereb. Sereb is different. He's different, and as I can say, he's the king of 7. I cannot touch him.
World Rugby Sevens Rookie of the Year Ratumeli Nderinalangi has committed himself to the national side for another season. Nderinalangi says he is not interested in playing for an overseas club at the moment, and as his main focus is making the Fiji team for the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo. The 20-year-old from Nawaka adds he was surprised to win the Rookie of the Year award on Monday.
My plans is to get into an Olympic team too and get that goal and defend it for Fiji. I'm not interested now in overseas contract. I'm still looking for that Olympic plans for next year. I never dreamt that because it was quite challenging for me with my 2 teammates, Mbotitu and Tuimamba. But it was quite surprising that my name was called out. And it was suddenly, I felt emotional.
3 more flying Fijians have joined the Fijian Latui camp. Coach Senirusi Serubakula says their involvement is also preparation for the Rugby World Cup. Seniloli is also with the Latui but will not play this week. All 3 players were named last month in John McKee's Flying Fijians World Cup extended squad.
So Osborne is going to start with Lepan in the wing, while Nambo will start as a lock. So these are the guys that brought in for John McKee to have a look before he pick his final extended squad for the World Cup. And we got Henry Seniloli with us. So he started training with us yesterday. I'll give him a run in 2 weeks' time against Perth.
The Vodafone Fiji Under-20s lost 36-20 to France in its first game at the World Rugby Under-20 Championship this morning. The Fiji residents made a late comeback to beat Tonga 16-10 in the second match of their tri-series at the ANZ Stadium this afternoon. The residents scored the first points of the match in the 4th minute through Penyoni Tangitumua to give them a 6-0 lead. However, the Tongans quickly responded with 2 tries to lead 10-6 at the break. A try from Fiji captain Pio Sethi then put the hosts back in contention before Michael Peters sealed the win with another try in the 35th minute of the second half. Meanwhile, following the varying results from the 2 matches, this is what Fiji head coach Brandon Costin had to say.
It's all about mindset for us and moving into a direction where we can perform consistently week in, week out. Not just a one-off effort, but consistently week in, week out.
Nandi bowling duo Ravinesh Prasad and Kushal Pillai have their eyes fixed on the South Pacific Bowling Carnival men's pairs title. Games Vice President Litia Tiko Isuba says the 2 have been performing extremely well since the carnival started over the weekend. Their major competitors right now are defending men's division champions Dan Lamon and Diwan Chand. Litia says that Pillai and Prasad could potentially make it to the final.
Rajnesh and Kushal, they are another top contention for the quarterfinals. Coming through to the semis, they are also in the Fiji team.
Sri Lanka denied Afghanistan a famous victory by winning a low-scoring thriller at the ICC Cricket World Cup today. After a dismal batting collapse by Sri Lanka, Afghanistan needed a rain-revised target of just 187 from 41 overs, but were beaten by 34 runs. Meanwhile, tonight, India will play South Africa. You can watch daily highlights from the Cricket World Cup on FBC TV and FBC Sports. Today's play of the day comes from the World Rugby Under-20 Championship, where the baby All Blacks put together some magic in their win against Georgia to send flanker Cohen Herbert over the try line. That's it from sports tonight. You can join Angie later on with weather and in new media. Apple finally unveils a new Mac Pro. That's coming up.
मैं नवनीत नंद नंबुआ से जैसे फ्रेंडी नोट मशहूर है वैसे रेडियो फिजी 2 भी सभी जगह मशहूर है। रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
सीमा नकाशी से मैं रेडियो फिजी 2 पसंद करती हूँ सुनने के लिए। रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
मैं हूँ अंकल किंग सिंगाटोका टाउन के टैक्सी ड्राइवर। जैसे रग्बी फेमस है वैसे रेडियो फिजी 2 फेमस है।
रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
In new media tonight, Apple has finally unveiled a new Mac Pro.
complete with the modern hardware that creatives and professionals have been demanding for. It's weather time now with Angie.
Hello there and welcome to the Weather World. It's the roll down towards the weekend, something to keep us motivated and keep going. The weather is a bit unusual. It's partly sunny but rain takes over, so we can say conditions are unsettled. It's time to put on the warm gear as the nights will be more cooler. A look in the west, this side has a different weather pattern. You can hardly push your sunnies away because sunny spells are very consistent. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, cooler conditions took over the day. And up north, quite mild with showers also expected. At sea, easterly winds 10 to 15 knots, moderate seas. For the tides, low tide at 8:21 p.m. with high tide at 2:11 a.m. Sunrise at 6:32. For tomorrow, a shower or two, but otherwise all cool and very clear. Tomorrow's temps, major centers will be mild at low 30s. And looking further on to Friday, I'm so thrilled as clearer conditions will continue. And it's back to you, Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fiji Pulse tonight, we asked, should restaurants that fail to adhere to proper hygiene shut down?
Yes, they should be closed down, and Ministry of Health should investigate with this, the kitchen and stuff.
Yes, because if customers get sick, who will be liable?
Yes, they should shut down because the food they're saving is affecting people's health.
Yes, because people eat at restaurants.
In the world of the weird and the wonderful, the native people of Amami Oshima in Japan cook a delicious meal with a plant that is not only rare but deadly. Recapping the main stories for tonight, Fiji to work with Australia to tackle growing economic challenges. Influenza ruled out as cause of death of US nationals, and the consumer watchdog raises concern on a milk product. For these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking, should our Sevens players be given cash incentives after winning the World Sevens Series? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, a beautiful picture of the Pacific Island Air seaplane returning from its last flight. It was sent in by Seriana Seymour. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj. Share it with us via Facebook page, FBC News. Follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news, hashtag FBC News. That was your FBC News for tonight. From the team and I, good night.
Bula, neva ngomal kay leloma, ngongai nakas ondu magrong ng Bula FM, namban dua na sere.
Hoya ubasit sai so lambasa, ya ondu talita ina warong ng Bula FM, namban dua na sere.
Gua do tumeli ako na tao no hinga toka, talita kina na warong ng Bula FM, namban dua na sere.
Wana tunga ng Bula FM, namban dua na sere namban.
Na vengo fane na tao no singa toka, kita ondu talita kana Bula FM, namban dua na sere.
Bula FM, namban dua na sere.